Has the thought of building a city ever crossed your mind? Have you ever thought of becoming a god overseeing tens of thousands? Then look no further than Cities Skylines. Cities Skylines is a game about architecture, planning, problem solving. Why are all these people dying over here? Is this because I have the trash? The trash are here? So many people dying in the city. Why are there so many people dying? Why are they passing away? And trial and error. The simple explanation is, you try your best to build an ideal city. A good key idea to keep in mind while building your city is, would you live here? If the answer is no, your city is probably garbage. If the answer is yes, your city is probably really good. I'll talk about 4 different things in this video: the early game, the mid game, the end game, and the sea of mods. Kind of like this dude's video. So thank you, man. In the early game, you start out with 70 grand, 0 people, and a huge, empty plot of land for you to exploit Mother Nature on. The first thing you need to do is this. Build roads in preferably a square-like grid. Once building an acceptable grid, one that will not get you bullied online, you focus on electricity. Then focus on water. Then finally, you zone your area. For any newcomers, I recommend you build your industry section away from the residential, because you don't want little kids inhaling toxic chemicals in their backyard. For the zoning, it is dependent on this bar down here, where the game will tell you what zone is more in demand. Since you just started your city, the most demanded zone will most likely be residential, because you need citizens. However, it's still good to zone commercial alongside your residential, as your citizens will have no problem living next to a 7-Eleven. So using this knowledge, you can follow the demand of what your citizens want down here, or you can estimate on what they will want later in the future. Completely up to you. As your population rises throughout your playthrough, you will unlock milestones. The first one is at 500, and this is where you unlock the services garbage, healthcare, and education. Depending on what kind of leader you are, you need to find the proper balancing of all 3 services provided to you. Remember, you only have a limited amount of money, but that's not stopping you from raising taxes. Because economy. So, if you made it this far, you probably have a good grasp on zoning and roads. The main strategy is to keep track of your milestones and notify yourself of your new services. The game enters a very simple gameplay loop here, and the early game for me kind of ends at around 7,000 people, where you unlock high density zoning. The early game is going to consist of a lot of micromanaging several amount of things, so people with major anxiety should steer clear of this game and most likely this video. Just make sure you have a moderate amount of services sprinkled throughout your city, and that every district has its fair share of education and stuff like that. After keeping up this loop for a while, you should finally make it to the milestone Big Town, where, like I said previously, you are rewarded with high density zoning. With this milestone achieved, you've finally made it to... Alright, so, you made it to the mid game. What is next on the to-do list? More roads. I'm gonna be honest, 75% of this game is pretty much just placing roads. The most important thing about these roads, however, are the new zones that came with the milestone. The high density residential zone, high density commercial zone, and the new office zone. The office zone is kind of a replacement for the factories. However, that does not mean you should just remove all of your factories and stuff. No, keep those, as they provide employment for your citizens who aren't that educated, as well as provide goods for the commercial districts. The office is another option to fulfill the demand for industry. The key to the offices is to place a shit ton of elementary schools and high schools, and also place, with the help of the latest milestone of course, the university. This will keep what I refer to as the rich people educated, and those rich people will actually be able to work in those offices. So, you should have a lot of citizens living in the high density districts, which is great, but now you must focus your efforts elsewhere, as the citizens will soon no longer require new residential districts, but require exclusively goods. The mid game should be around the time where you receive the goods notifications. To fix the low goods problem seems complicated, but isn't actually that complicated. To fix this problem, you must swiftly invest in the new technology, trains. There are 2 types of trains in City Skylines. 1, the normal train station. This is the train station where your average, day-to-day citizens will take to work and stuff like that. 2, the cargo train terminal. This is where you will fix the goods issue. You must first find the train tracks that surround the outskirts of your city edge, and also the same ones that just disappear into the fog. What? And then add the cargo train terminal nearby on a road. Then, all you do is just connect the tracks to the terminal and BAM! You're done. You now have a reliable source You now have a reliable source of goods that are delivered to your city, and you will never face the goods problem ever again. Unless you are me, and forget to manage your roads properly. Alright, I'm back, and I drank water, so my throat shouldn't sound like sandpaper. You see, I've been holding a secret to you this entire time. The roads in this game are a gigantic pain in the ass. I have almost 100 hours on Cities Skylines, and yet I still do not understand the roads. If your brain is as smooth as mine, you will never actually pay attention to your roads. But you see, if you don't make sure your roads are not constantly clogged with traffic because of your piss poor road management, then the production of goods to and from your city will grind to a halt. City Skylines is programmed where the delivery trucks full of goods actually drive to and from destinations in order for the economy to not collapse. So, if you have a horrific traffic problem, your city will never be able to produce nor get the goods from the cargo trains. So, secret gamer tip, don't be like me. Do research on your roads. Once road management is properly completed, and you have enough population of course, it's time to move on to the end. No, don't cut it here. The end game. Stop doing that. Here at the end game, you should have millions of dollars like me. That is if you don't spend a lot. Usually with my City Skylines playthroughs, I don't actually buy a lot of the new services the game provides me. I'm spending more time fixing mistakes, ensuring my city has a constant supply of goods and services, and just watching my city thrive. Trust me, you'll probably do the same. City Skylines never actually ends, so I'd say you beat the game at around 80,000 population, because that's the last milestone you stop receiving new services. So, to beat the game you want to constantly make sure your city is happy by looking at the global happiness, because if you see a green smiley face in the bottom right next to your population, chances are you're probably doing a good job. That can't be said for me, however, since I, kind of accidentally poisoned the water supply.
A few moments later.
I'm just losing people. What just... Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Oh my god, I just killed, like, all of my citizens. Oh my god. I just killed so many people. How many... Did I just lose, like, 10,000 people because of that... That was so dumb. I just lost so many people. The end game is mainly filled with you attempting to fix the problems your past self inflicted onto you. That's because when you build a city in the early game or mid game, you don't really think about it due to either low brain function or limited budget, so the later you will be the one worrying about it. The end game for me consisted of multiple attempts to fix the painful traffic problem, whilst also expanding the city to accommodate the sudden and massive influx of people. The end game is most likely also where you will be trying out the new services, like the hydroelectric dam, airport, metro station, and more. However, I am a lazy man, so I never actually integrated these new services into my city. Since I had a shit ton of money, I decided to build a bunch of unique monuments around my city. I built these two disgusting looking towers in the middle of the industry zone, and called it a day. At around the 60k to 70k population mark, it is pretty much smooth sailing until the final milestone achievement at 80,000 population. Normally during this, you are under constant damage control of fixing your city's problems and potentially adding a bunch of new services to please your citizens. But I didn't do this, and instead just AFK'd until 80,000 population. But congratulations, you made it, and now you have access to everything in the game. By my definition, you have officially beaten City Skylines. Even though it goes on forever. The only thing left to do is, well, I'll show you. There are over 50,000 Steam Workshop items for Cities Skylines, so that proves how large the modding community truly is. Most mods give you more roads, services, or unlockables. The ones I have subscribed to are network anarchy, more disaster controls, and other helpful things that make city building a lot easier. You can also download maps to explore other people's cities or real life ones people have recreated in the game. My favorite thing to do in these is load up New York City and just hit it with about 500,000 meteors, because that's just kind of funny. Most people download the mods for helpful gameplay elements, but also download to see how far they can push their computers, because like I said, there are a lot of mods. The best visual representation of the modding community in Cities Skylines is almost the entirety of RT Games' videos on the game. These videos are extremely funny, and if you haven't seen them, you're missing out entirely. So I recommend clicking off this video afterwards and watching those videos if you haven't already. And so, that's about it. If this video hasn't convinced you to buy Cities Skylines, then I really don't know what will convince you, because this game is awesome, and I love it. Thanks for watching.